Today we have with us Dr. Sarath Kala. Dr. Sarath Kala has vast clinical experience in pediatrics. Her qualification includes MBBS, DCH, DNB in pediatrics, and MRCP-CH, and has a fellowship in neonatology. She has about 14 years of clinical experience. Welcome, doctor. Today, Dr. Sarath Kala is going to discuss about the right way to care of one's health and the necessary precautions to be taken in the new normal for children, basically. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aruna, for the introduction. Good afternoon to one and all. Today's live session, what we're going to talk about and discuss basically is the right way to take care of one's health and what precautions we should be taking in the new normal during this COVID pandemic. I think in this year of 2020 and in all of our lifetimes, we have not spoken about health as much as we have done in this particular year. And according to the World Health Organization, health is defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being. And it is not just merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So, it is just not the absence of disease. So, one has to be physically, mentally, socially well. And there are so many factors that influence health in total. And all of us are well aware of all these things. They are very basic stuff: nutrition, diet, environment, hygiene, friends, healthcare, stress management, sports, and exercise. So we'll go through one by one, and maybe I can give you a few tips on how to manage it probably the better way. All of us must be doing it the right way, and this year all of us must have googled and learned so much about maintaining health and the major positive aspect of COVID this year. We will first look into nutrition. And with me being a pediatrician, I will be talking majorly about the pediatrician perspective and children's health. In addition, I will be mentioning for adults also. Why? Because children are not miniature adults, and they are almost like mirrors, and they mirror the adult practices. So once adults, that is parents, have healthy eating practices, healthy exercising practices, automatically they imbibe the practices, and it becomes easier for children to also practice the same. We all know about the health pyramid, and we also must be acquainted with the healthy food plate. The food plate nowadays is supposed to be very colorful. It's in easy terms, when we give food to our children, half the plate should be filled with fruits and vegetables. So 50% of the diet should be filled with fruits and vegetables, and nowadays we say it should be very colorful. So you can choose a yellow color concept for one day, introduce children to bananas and other yellow fruits, and you can say oranges the next day, purple, you can give grapes, something like that. So nowadays health is why colorful? Because there are a lot of antioxidants and flavonoids in all these vegetables and fruits, which give us a lot of immunity to fight all kinds of infections. It is not only COVID. And grains and protein should form the next 50% of our diet. We should in addition take adequate quantities of dairy products like milk, cheese, or whatever. But what we are minimizing now and telling that parents should come down, obviously all of us know, is junk food, and also refined sugars, white sugars, and refined flours, that is like maida and all those things. Our diet should be rich in protein. Good source of protein should be beans, eggs, seeds, and nuts, and of course animal products for non-vegetarians. So in general, why are we so much concentrating on fruits and vegetables is they are very rich sources of vitamins and minerals. These vitamins and minerals, we all are well acquainted that they help us in fighting many infections and in preventing infections also. Next we'll go on to simple practices. What has amazed me this year is what we had found so difficult in implementing even in hospitals, like hand washing among healthcare professionals. This simple coronavirus has taught children and the entire generation. So the whole thing about coronavirus and preventing is about good hand washing techniques. So here, how do we hand wash and how do we implement it in children basically? So how do we hand wash is, why do we hand wash is, hand washing removes most of the infective viral particles from our surfaces of hands. Why hand washing in particular? Because hands, we touch all infective surfaces and they are contaminated from other sources of infection, and hence hand washing is not only useful for COVID but also prevents a lot of other infections like other waterborne diseases, typhoid, jaundice also. Here, for implementing this hand washing in children, nowadays I think our Google is full of videos for showing to children. The other thing is, once we get them to get into the procedure of hand washing, we can sing a few rhymes to them, make it more joyful, because the experience of hand washing has to be repeated so many times. So each time, if a parent is very fanatical about hand washing, or it is imposed on children, they are not very compliant, they do not do the procedure well, and the whole idea of hand washing and prevention of diseases is lost. So hand washing has to be made enjoyable from the children's perspective of view, of their point of view. And it is important that hand washing is not done as just for the sake of it, that is just taking their hands, putting in some water, soap, and just washing it off. There is a small procedure in it, so we just have to follow the 6 steps of hand washing to make sure our hands are safe and clean, and we are also protected from important infections like coronavirus for this year. So we have to have palm to palm, then we have to do back to back, and then we have to have our thumb fingers which have to be scrubbed, then we have to scrub our wrists and the tip of the fingers and in between fingers. So there are 6 steps of hand washing, simple ones. Children are learning it very elegantly and even implementing better than adults most of the times. The important thing here is we have to do it at least for 20 seconds. And in many common places where we visit, what we notice is there are hand sanitizers, and hand sanitizers they take into their hands, they just do this. What we are tending to forget is hand hygiene, and hand sanitization means the same 6 steps of hand sanitization even with the hand sanitizer. So once the children learn these 6 steps, and I think it's going to last for a lifetime for them. And then if it is going to be used with soap and running water, we can dry hands with a clean cloth or a single use towel. The next most important thing that we are teaching children and adults in particular also is about cough etiquette. What we are all used to practicing is cough into our hands. Just now we saw that hands are a most important medium of transmitting infected things from one place to another. It could be just a table, it could be a handle, or anything like that. So what it's called cough etiquette. That is, when we have a cough or a sneeze, we generate a lot of virus included or infective particles that can travel a long distance. So what we are now, it has always been advocated, is we have to cough into the elbow or the shoulder, and if possible, if you have a tissue, you can cough into a tissue, dispose the tissue, and again follow it by hand washing. Most of us think we will have a handkerchief in our hand and we can just cough into it and we will be holding the handkerchief. That is not the cough etiquette. That is not going to serve the purpose of minimizing the transmission of infection from one person to another. So again, this has been taught to many children, and this is very important when we attend clinics, especially when we are attending for our own illnesses and where other people are also going to come in with some symptoms. So in clinics, in places where we think we also are going to get health care, these are the places where cough etiquette is very, very important, and it also plays a very important role in schools. When children are ultimately going to get back to schools, there will be some respiratory illnesses going to persist. Also, COVID may also persist it's not going to be a 1-year issue. It's going to continue for some more years also. So in that way, cough etiquette has to be followed even after the pandemic is over. So cough etiquette is basically coughing or sneezing into a tissue, disposing it, and again followed by hand washing, or we can just cough into our elbows or into our shoulders. And the next thing will be about physical activity. I think this year, when during the lockdown, most of us must have put on weight, and very small ones whom we thought will never gain weight have also put on weight. So obesity has become a major issue. So physical activity, basically for preschool age children like 3 to 5 years, everyday normal activity. And nowadays we are like, most parents are working. So when children run around, we are like, sit down in one place. Actually, the running around in the house itself is the normal physical activity for these preschool aged children. And other times when the parents have finished their work, they have to take these children into a terrace or into an open place and give them some kind of safe, enjoyable physical activities. It could just be a ringa roses. They could just run around in whatever place is available. And whatever small games that they can play, they can just keep a basketball ring in one place. whatever space, just you need around 6 feet, and ask the children to put and point, throw a ball, whatever is possible, some amount of skating. Everything is important, and their physical activity every day is very, very important. And these children, when they have or use their hands to play with clay at home and all, the physical activity that a child gets, there is a lot of coordination happening in their hands, there is a strength that is being built, there is a lot of brain development that is happening. So it improves their fine motor coordination, the small activities that they do at home, and the playing, it increases their happiness, there is mood elevation. And also this increased physical activity during the day will help them during the night, that they get tired and they sleep well. So this also plays an important role in the sleep hygiene also. Physical activity for children and adolescents around 6 to 17 years of age. Now we saw about 3 to 5 years. Now next we see about 6 to 17 years. This is the next age group where children into teenage, they may become a little adamant. But 6 to 12 years and all, they will kind of at least cooperate a little bit. What is the recommendation? At least 1 hour of moderate to vigorous intensity of physical activity every day. So what we all think is like how during the lockdown or with restriction of activities, how are the children going to get this amount of activity? In small places are enough for even playing our age old games, like where they can hop around, they can play something like boxes, small children can write ABCs, they can trace the path and all. But why is it that there's so much of importance being placed on physical activity is, vigorous activity as running on soccer should increase the heartbeat a little bit, so that they get used to kind of this kind of activity also has to be in the regular process. Activity that strengthens muscles such as climbing or push-ups at home. This is why I said such kind of physical activity can also be got by mimicking the parents. Once the exercise or the being done by the adults, the children automatically get into the path of doing the same exercises. Activity that strengthens the bones, simple activities like skipping at home. So that itself is, that is, there has to be pressure, and there has to be some physical activity which will increase the strength of the bones. This age of 6 to 17 years is a major chunk where there is a lot of physical growth happening and the bones are also maturing. So we should make sure that children have a minimum of 1 hour of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity daily, if not at least 3 days a week. You parents can also go and look through the kids activity pyramid, where there is a lot of information about family play, free play, group play, and children can even just put on to music and just dance. Instead of sitting in one place, they can even dance to some music. They can be happy to themselves, and there can be a routine where parents can switch off the TV for one day, try to do some group activity where family play not only is just physical activity, it also integrates the social well-being of a family, and it helps in knowing what exactly the children are going through and conversing with them, and it makes life a little bit more easier. At least parents nowadays spend very little time with children, but thanks to COVID, that a lot of parents are having work from home, so there is also more chance for some family play also. Most important thing here will be to limit the TV watching and screen time. And children also, some children get into the habit of getting addicted to games, video games. Here I would just like to mention that screen time, that is watching TV for less than up to 3 to 5 years old, what is advised is only 1 hour per day, which is very difficult for most of us, but it is better to avoid the screen time. Better to give children books, make somebody sit, tell stories, read some picture books and all for the younger ones. And even for the elder ones, where children nowadays have got into the practice of online classes where they have to sit in front of the screen for a long time. There are guidelines from the government limiting the screen time, but still there is a rule of 20-20. So every 20 minutes they can just gaze away from the screen up to around see some object which is 20 feet away for a time duration of 20 seconds. So this is not only useful for children, this is also useful for adults too, who are compelled to work with the laptops for a long time. Next we'll go to the benefits of physical activity. Is very simple. Improved motor skills, psychosocial health is much better, they adjust to their friends much better, they are their peers and all, they are very easy to approach, and of course the most important benefit is decreased obesity. And the lifestyle for maintaining a very good health basically lies in some amount of discipline from the parents side. So here we have to set a routine, that is getting up in the morning. It's preferably maybe adjustable to around 1 hour this way, that way. It may be a school day, it may be a non-school day, but setting a routine helps children to follow it also easily. Eating healthy, we've already seen what all things and how we have to keep. It's not about eating healthy for one day. I think the most important thing is about eating healthy consistently. That is doing the same thing in a repeated manner over a long period of time. That consistency is the one which is going to help us maintain our health over the long time. Keep active and moving, and even at home every 30 minutes you can just get up, go something, pick it up and again come back. It's not like you have to do exercise. You can go into the kitchen, just walk around for 2-3 minutes and then again you can come back. And choose safe outdoor activity. For now, where there are still restrictions and we are still on the learning curve about this new virus, we can choose some safe outdoor activity, like we can even spend time with children gardening. Children playing with mud is a very nice thing to improve their fine motor coordination, and it also is a lot of coordination about gardening and all. And family time, as I have already mentioned to you, and adequate sleep and rest. We just take the sleep and rest for granted. Actually, the sleep is a very, very important time in the 24 hours of a day, where the sleep is going to help the body to re-energize for the next day. Here we will just have a few words about sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene for preschool children generally need about 10 to 13 hours of sleep per night. School age children will be around 6 to 13 years, will need 9 to 11 hours of sleep, and the elder ones at least 8 to 10 hours. If not 8, at least 7 to 8 hours per day. This we have to make sure that they, when do you think we can sleep well, is when they have had a daytime activity where they get tired because of physical activity. It's better to avoid caffeine in children, teas and coffees. And as there is a routine for getting up, there should be a set time and routine for sleep also, the same time, or at least 1 hour this way and that way. And quite calm and relaxing activities are the ones which will help children get into bed smoothly. Avoiding heavy food and exciting activity, it is like watching a violent movie, or you are going to sit and play video games. There's a lot of stimulation from the electronic gadgets. It's definitely not good for the growing brain. So avoid heavy food and exciting activity before sleep. And it's very common to find televisions inside the bedroom. It's actually not advisable. And when the bedroom should be a calm, cozy, comfortable environment for children where they can rest. And it is a well-known fact that good sleep is the time when there is a growth hormone being secreted for children also. It helps in the adequate growth in children. And all this while we have seen about what all we can do to improve health, maintain health. Just in case if any of us are going to fall sick, again it is very simple, but in this corona period, the most important thing will be, if anybody develops symptoms like fever or cough, first is to isolate at home. We should not be roaming around and spreading infections to others. So first will be to isolate at home when we are unwell. Wear masks when we are in contact with other people who are at risk at home, like grandparents. Consult with the health professional. This is the most important thing, who will be able to guide us through the process of recovery. Adequate rest and balanced diet. And at home, when we are sick, it is always advisable to isolate at-risk individuals in family, like more than 60-65-year-old people, and other people who have at-risk conditions like hypertension, diabetes, or on immunosuppression and other things. So basically, it's about maintaining health. We have to teach and reinforce everyday preventive actions in children, but of course, pediatrician's perspective in an enjoyable way, because anything which is going to be forced upon them, children will not comply with, and they will not reproduce the same actions, and the whole purpose of prevention of an infection is lost. So in an enjoyable way to children, wash hands, wear a mask. We will again discuss about wearing a mask and all, and avoid close contact with other sick individuals. Cover the coughs and sneezes. And the most important thing here will be also to bring the children for their regular healthcare visits. Their regular healthcare visits will enable for us to make sure their weight is normal, their growth is normal, and complete their normal vaccination procedures. Vaccinations where already we know we have been very successful in eradicating many diseases like polio, which have haunted us for a long time. So regular vaccinations for all the benefit that has been gained. If the vaccinations are discontinued, again we will have resurfacing of vaccine preventable diseases. So it is always advised, and all our clinics and all our hospitals are well equipped with protective measures and preventive measures to prevent the transmission of infection from well children and all. So there should be no doubt about coming to a hospital facility for coming and taking the regular vaccinations. This season, at-risk children, like children less than 2 years in particular, better for children less than 5 years old, and children with chronic lung diseases, asthma, it is better to give the flu vaccination also, which is given every year. And children should be active. Regular physical activity improves the children's physical and mental health. And staying socially connected with friends improves their social well-being. And children should be, we all think that only adults who are professionals, who are managing their home, it's only the parents who are stressed. But it is our duty to understand that the young ones, ranging from infants, toddlers to adults, all of them go through the same stress as much as we are going through it. So it's the duty of a parent to spend some adequate time to address what fears they are also experiencing. There have been situations during this year where children have been left alone to fend with unknown people because parents had been quarantined, had been admitted. So coping with stress with children is also our own responsibility, and it takes time. We have to sit, talk openly to them, ask what is causing fear to them, give them some reassurance, and finally we should reassure them saying, I am there, I will take care of you. So all this may sound as if it is all it's all happening, but sometimes we need additional time to spend to sit and talk with children, especially during this COVID period. And next we go on to what is this new normal and old normal. In this COVID pandemic, it has become 2020 has become a landmark year. I think it will be like before 2020 and after 2020. So the previous, we never used to think twice before leaving outside. Think about whether we are wearing a mask or not. Think about whom we are taking along with us, how long we are going to spend, and when we are going to come back, or where we are going. But the new normal is all about three most important things. One is social distancing. What is this social distancing? All of you must be proficient, more than me even, in knowing social distancing is about maintaining a minimal distance of 3 feet, optimally 6 feet. This is to prevent the spread of infections, especially coronavirus, in this particular situation. Wearing masks. Masks wearing has become advocated all along the population, because there are two things in coronavirus where asymptomatic individuals may also be spreading the infection. So it is basically source control. If we wear a mask, we are controlling people from spreading the infection to others, and also protecting ourselves from receiving the infection from others. The third most important thing is hand washing and hand hygiene, which we've already elaborated. And what we've also noted this year is the Indian culture has become globalized, and we see everybody either saying a namaste, including even we've seen photos of Prince Charles also. Here, next we will just have a thing about precautions during COVID-19. What appears to be the most important factor, which is helping in the spread of COVID-19, seems to be crowded and very poorly ventilated areas. So what precaution we would aim at when we want to prevent COVID-19 is choosing well ventilated locations and wearing masks with good fit and practicing hand hygiene. So when parents themselves want to go to a place or would like to take their children, what I would suggest is choosing places where there is good ventilation, where there is less of crowd, and in addition wearing a mask, practicing good hand hygiene. All these things are in addition. It is not like either or. If only when all these practices go together, we are going to be efficient in preventing the transmission of COVID-19 to a large number of people. These will be the major precautions that we'll be taking. And with this, I think we will conclude the session, and I'm open to take questions from the audience also. Thank you very much.
Dr. Sharat Kala, thank you very much for very much valuable information. I got few questions to ask you. And what type of mask should children wear?
Okay. The question is, what type of mask should children wear? Children basically, from what age also? Children should be wearing masks from more than 5 years of age. This is about the WHO guidelines. And what type of mask? Healthy children who do not have any underlying risk factors, like even children can be high risk individuals where they can be having other underlying medical conditions and all. So normal children more than 5 years of age, they should be wearing normal fabric masks, cloth masks, when they are going to get into other places where they are going to interact with people. Because whatever said and done, social distancing of 3 meters has to be practiced, but you cannot guarantee it across circumstances. So it is always better for universal masking more than 5 years of age. In children, two-layer fabric cloth masks should do for normal children. For children who have underlying medical conditions or they have risk factors for increased severity of the disease, where children have chronic diseases, cancer on treatment, etc., they should be wearing a medical mask. That will be a surgical mask to prevent their reception of infection.
All right, thank you. And another one is, should children wear a mask when playing sports or doing physical activities?
Oh. So much has been so much importance when placed on physical activity. Children, they should not be wearing masks when they are doing physical activity, but what has to be followed is they should be choosing outdoor activities and they should be maintaining social distancing and practicing hand hygiene. They can choose some activities where it will be like soccer or cricket, where they can take their own precautions to have themselves physically distanced, and it should be a totally outdoor activity where air exchange is good and there is very good ventilation.
Right, thank you. And the other one is, are there any situations where children aged 5 years and under may wear or be required to wear a mask?
Okay. These children, 5 years, why is this cutoff of 5 years? Basically is the wearing of mask itself requires some physical dexterity, that children should be able to wear it across themselves. And some certain situations where 2 to 5 year olds, this has to be have to wear a mask will be under supervision of adults. When these children are in close proximity with infected individuals at home, it could be the mother, it could be their grandparents, somebody who is a caretaker. At that moment, they may have to wear a mask. But should always be remembered that wearing of masks in younger children, 2 to 4 years and all, has to be under direct adult supervision. And why so much of adult supervision is to prevent choking, and also the methodology of wearing mask. There's no purpose if the child is going to keep touching the front surface of the mask and keep changing it and taking away the mask, then the whole purpose is negated. So children between 2 to 5 years of age, if they are in close contact with somebody who is ill or somebody who has to take care of themselves and the child, at that point of time it is advised that the children do wear the masks, but under adult supervision.
Right, okay doctor. And another one is, should teachers or other adults working with children wear a mask?
Teachers and other adults, okay. Here what happens is, basically even the teachers or adults, we have to look into their age and risk factors. So there will be some amount of physical distancing at schools, but whatever said and done, masking has to happen with a normal cloth mask even in teachers. And if the teacher is going to have some risk factors, or if they are above 60 years with underlying medical conditions, it is advisable that they wear a medical mask.
Right, okay. And should common people wear N95 masks? Is it necessary?
This is a very useful question actually, because N95 masks have become very fashionable also, but actually the N95 mask is a resource limited mask, and it is actually reserved for the healthcare professionals who handle the sick ones. N95 mask is not recommended for the public. The public who have the main things that are implicated for the public is social distancing and mask only cloth masks for well individuals with no risk factors, social distancing in particular, and for the public who do have some risk factors or underlying medical conditions, the surgical masks are the ones that are being advocated.
Right, doctor. And another one is, what is herd immunity?
Okay, there's a lot of information also about
Yeah.
herd immunity, and everybody is talking about herd immunity. Herd immunity is one where a particular population is being protected after from the disease when certain percentage of the population has already had the disease. So the people who are immune to the disease are the ones who will break the chain of transmission in the community. So this herd immunity percentage varies with every disease. Right now, this is what is about herd immunity, and whatever said and done, herd immunity to achieve and then to break the chain of transmission will take a longer time. That means most of the population will need to undergo the disease. So the whole process of talking about maintaining our health, hand hygiene, and social masking is to prevent the disease, because always prevention is better than cure. But herd immunity will eventually happen, but all of the population, to prevent the disease in entire population, is what we are practicing: masking, social distancing, and
Right.
yeah.
Okay. And how should children wear a mask?
Okay. We see all kinds of masks on children, and masks not covering the mouth and chin. The whole purpose is not there. So children, before, if they are older ones, like more than 6 years old, we can teach them hand washing and then wearing the mask, because the mask has to be clean also. So first step is to teach them the hand washing, and then they should be wearing a mask from holding from the sides, and they should be putting it on in a way that it covers completely the nose and the mouth. This is going to be the source of infection. And in younger ones, if they are going to use the mask, especially between 3 to 5 years, it has to be under direct adult supervision, and we have to tell the children that they should not be touching the front surface of the mask, because the front surface is going to be a contaminated surface. And if they touch the front surface of the mask, again we will have to tell them to wash their hands. All this in children is actually difficult. It is very easy to talk all this, but slowly and steadily, when things are reinforced, children learn very well.
Thanks, doctor. And can breastfeeding be continued if mother has COVID-19?
This is a very, very common and very important question to be addressed in this session. Most of the mothers think that once they have COVID, they have to stop breastfeeding. It is not advised to stop breastfeeding. We have to continue breastfeeding in the newborns, in children less than 6 months, even when the mother is having COVID, when the mother is stable. That is when she is going to be in a home quarantine, or she is physically fit to breastfeed the child. The important thing here will be the mother should be practicing respiratory hygiene measures, that is wearing a mask and hand hygiene. And the baby should be placed at the foot end of the mother with social distancing more than at least 6 to 8 feet. And if there is somebody else to take care of the baby can be brought to the mother only for the feeds. But the crux of the question and the answer to the question is breastfeeding has to be continued. And the benefit is, after the illness of the mother will be generating antibodies in her breast milk, and the antibodies of the mother will also be transferred to the baby. And the benefit of breastfeeding is the most important thing the baby requires. So breastfeeding has to be continued, definitely.
Okay, doctor. And can we take children for regular vaccinations?
There's no doubt about it. That's what we addressed initially also during the presentation. The regular vaccinations have to be continued for all children, because the long benefits that we have reaped because of the percentage of vaccination coverage that has happened will be lost if this generation of children do not come for vaccination. So regular vaccinations and regular healthcare visits with appropriate